Good afternoon and welcome to today's session of Imagine America Radio, our continuing Career College Exposition webinar series. My name is Bob Martin and I'm with the Imagine America Foundation. Joining me on today's session of Imagine America Radio is my foundation colleague, Lee Doubleday. Lee and I are extremely excited about today's topic, the overlooked value of technical school certificates, sponsored by Universal Technical Institutes, or UTI. UTI is this country's leading provider of high-quality, career-focused education at 16 locations nationwide. UTI is also a 21-year sponsor of the Imagine America Scholarship and Award programs, having now provided admissions-based financial aid to more than 16,000 enrolling Imagine America students. Without taking valuable time from our presenter, let me refer any and all inquiries about the Imagine America Foundation to our website, www.imagine-america.org.
Since our beginning in 1999, Imagine America remains the leading sponsor of scholarship aid to enrolling high school students. However, our country faces a serious shortage in certified technicians. We hear from employers in virtually all sections of the country, desperately looking for qualified employees, so we need to do more. Our partner in today's presentation again is Universal Technical Institute, and joining us today to discuss in detail the looming technician shortage and how UTI is helping meet this need is Dr. Stephen Coyle. Dr. Coyle is a nationally recognized expert in this area with an extensive K-12 background. But before turning the program over to Dr. Coyle, let me outline today's agenda. Today's session of Imagine America Radio will be 30 minutes maximum with question and answers at the end of the presentation. All participants can submit questions while the presentation is in session via the Q&A or the chat feature in this Zoom meeting. At the end of the presentation, we'll provide any questions offered by the participants and provide written responses and follow-up emails if necessary after this is over. We will have a hard close at 2:30 p.m. to be respectful of your time. So without taking any more time out of today's presentation, let me turn today's session over to Dr. Stephen Coyle. Dr. Coyle, the floor is yours.
Well, thanks, Bob and Lee, and welcome everyone this afternoon. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to spend a few minutes with me. Let's just get right into the presentation. I always like to start off a little bit about UTI in general. We are the largest provider of technicians in the transportation industry. We have now 16 locations across the country. For many years, I get to say 12. We can now say 16 because we have 2 new campuses that will be opening soon, one in Austin, Texas, and one in Miramar, South Florida. But we've also acquired MIAT, which is the Michigan Institute of Aeronautic Technology, with 2 campuses, one in Canton, Michigan, and the other near Houston, Texas. So we're very excited about adding MIAT to our fold, and we'll have more information coming out in the future about them as we transition over and with all those programs. The nationwide training, I like to point out, is important for students for a couple reasons. Number one, we're known nationwide. You'd be hard pressed to walk into a dealership and say UTI and they wouldn't know who we are. But the most important part for our graduates is for job placement, because when they graduate, we help them to get placed into their chosen field of study. Because of our national presence, we have access to dealerships all over the United States. So it really helps to get students employed by having that nationwide training. So it's something I always like to point out to people when I'm talking about UTI. We offer 8 STEM programs: auto, diesel, collision, motorcycle, marine, NASCAR, CNC, and welding. That's our 8 staple ones. And of course, we'll be adding to that with MIAT, where we'll be getting into wind power, solar power, HVAC, and robotics, just to name a few things. Of course, aviation training as well. But in these 8 that you see on this screen, there are literally hundreds of careers within those 8, things you might not think about. For instance, we might have a student that says, you know, I love cars, I love being around cars, but I really don't want to work on them. Is there anything I could do? And the answer is yes. You could be a claims adjuster for an insurance company. When you hit a deer, you have all kinds of dents and dings on the outside, but what you don't see is all the problems on the inside, the the sensors, the computer components that are damaged. And so that's where having a certified technician comes in handy. So that would be an example of a career opportunity there. And then I always like to talk about our alliances with the manufacturers. While many schools may have one or two, we have over 35 alliances with manufacturers. Companies like BMW, GMC, Kawasaki, Honda, Harley-Davidson, just to name a few. This is important for our students because this is who we're training for. As I often say, we're not preparing students to go to work for Jiffy Lube. We're preparing students to go to work for these type of companies. Why? Because they're strong, stable companies. They need technicians badly, but they're willing to compensate. They have great salary structure and benefit packages. So it's a win-win for both sides when you have these kind of industry relationships. But what I'm really here to talk about today is you and your relationship with students, your relationship with parents, and of course, each other. And, the first thing I'd like to talk about is to succeed in the modern economy today, what do students need? Well, they need skills. This is what employers are looking for. What skills do you bring to the table? But there's two types of skills. Oftentimes when we think of skills, we think, well, I'm skilled, I can weld, or I can build a house, or I can work on a car, or I can sew, or something like that. Those are skills, what we might refer to as hard skills. But on the other side of the coin, there are the soft skills. Soft skills would be like communication, the people skills, writing skills, these type of things. These are just as important as the other. We can train a student to become an auto or diesel technician, and that's great, but they have to be able to convey that information to their customer, to be able to go out and meet with them and say, okay, I found what's wrong with your car or truck. Here's what it's going to take to fix it. Here's how much it's going to cost to fix it, and then put it in their lap on what they want to do. So those skills are very important too. So remember that with your students, when they're getting prepared for a career pathway, that both of these types of skills are important. We tend to look at the hard skills like they're more important than the soft, but in reality, they're both equally important, especially to employers. This might shock you because you think that your students are all going off to college, they're all getting bachelor's degrees. Well, what we do know is that 94% of students and nearly 3 out of 5 associate degrees are being awarded in career-oriented fields. So that means they're getting a certificate, a diploma, or an associate degree for their training. And you think, well, why is that? Well, you think about the students that we have today, you know very well as much as I do. These students are very much here and now. I want it quickly. I want it, done, they're always, they don't want to do entry level. They want middle management. But they're always, they're instantaneous. They don't want to wait. They're not patient. And so a bachelor's degree for some of your students is just out of reach because they just don't have the patience to go through that. They're looking for a program where they can get through, get the skills that they want, get out and get employed. So that's why this statistic is really important when you think about your students. And not all students are going to fit this. Some of your students are willing to go through and get a bachelor's degree and a master's degree if necessary. And that's great. But you have to remember that many of your students are not built that way. They're looking for an alternative. And then along the same lines, 50% of students taking undergraduate coursework are enrolled in certificate and associate degree programs. Once again, you might think that's shocking that, you thought, well, maybe 10 or 15, maybe 20%. But no, in reality, almost half of the students, that's where they're headed. And it goes back to what I just said. These students they want now. They want to be able to get done quickly, get out and make money. That's what they're all about, is wanting to be successful. Now, when you start looking at programs where they offer a certificate or a diploma of some kind, there's 3 things that you need to be looking for. Number 1, you need to be looking for industry relationships and partnerships. That's huge. Number 2, occupationally focused curriculum. And then number 3, employment assistance. Now, let me go back through these industry relationships. That goes back to the slide I just showed you just a minute ago. We have over 35 alliances with manufacturers. That's who we're preparing students for. Those industry relationships are huge because that's where students are going to go to work. So having that relationship, we find out what industry is looking for, and then we help to supply that demand. Occupationally focused curriculum. What do you bring to the table? What skills do you bring? And employers love to be able to hire students that are already trained, that are ready to go. Yes, they're willing to with some of their employees, take the time and the money to train their people, but they would much rather be able to hire somebody that already has that training in place and know that the curriculum that they've taken is what is accepted in the industry. And that's exactly what we do at both UTI and MIAT. And then finally, employment assistance. Why are students going to school in the first place? They want to get employed. They want to get into their career, something that they love to do, that they're excited to do every day. And so that employment assistance is huge. Now, you can take this a step further and say, how do these relate to each other? Well, obviously, without, with employment assistance, you need that industry relationship. The two go hand in hand. And employment assistance and occupationally focused curriculum, as I've said already several times. What are employers looking for? Skills. What do you bring to the table? That's going to make you more marketable because you have the skills that they are looking for. So all three of these go hand in hand with each other. But when you start looking at programs for your students, make sure that they meet all three of these criteria. If they don't, then you might want to look elsewhere. I want to change gears here for just a second and talk about a program we're really excited to be partnering with, and it's Ignite Worldwide. Ignite is an acronym, Inspiring Girls Now in the Technology Evolution. This program is offering girls the opportunity to get into STEM fields. Think about it for a second. Half of our population is female, yet we have very few females involved in STEM-related careers, and that needs to change. And so that's where Ignite is coming into play. This started in 1998, and we're just really excited to be part of their program, be partnering with them. I love their mantra, you can't be what you can't see. Think about that for a second. When's the last time that you saw a female welder, a female auto or diesel technician, a female in the road crew when you see them like on the highway teams, that kind of thing? You don't see them very often. And then when you do, it's like it's a novelty. Like, oh, well, look, they got a girl working for them. Isn't that nice? It shouldn't be a novelty. It should be a reality. It should be something we see every day. So that's where Ignite has really stepped up to make girls see what is out there available to them, to show them. It's like this party's been going on for a long time. They've never been invited to that party. Well, now they are. Now they're getting to see what is out there, what's available to them. As I said, Kathy Rajveller is the CEO and founder of Ignite Worldwide. She started this in 1998 in the Seattle schools, and it is growing and continues to grow each year. There are 4 parts to the program. What we do at our campuses, we've hosted 3 so far. We've had a couple we've had to postpone because of the latest COVID surge, but we're going to be able to have those later in the spring. But the 3 we've had have had over 100 girls at every one of them. So that shows you right there, there is definitely an interest. But what we do is we create panels, women in STEM. These are women that have gotten into STEM careers, they've been successful, and we want them there because, as we said before, you can't be what you can't see. Now we're putting these women in front of these girls to show them what's out there. And it gives them a chance to ask questions like, hey, were you afraid? Was it embarrassing? How did you get started? What advice would you give me? Those questions that they want to ask. And so that's where we make the panel available to them. Then we take them on field trips. That's why we bring them to our campus, so they can see what a true STEM school looks like, see how we train technicians, but also to take them into other industries so they can see what is out there available to them. Number 3, workshops. Give them a chance to weld, doing it like a welding simulator. Give them a chance to experience this. How do they know if they like it or not? They've never done it before. So we want to give them the opportunity to at least try these things out. And then number 4, encouraging them to go to conferences where they have breakout sessions, where the girls can be there together. There's strength in numbers. That way they don't feel like they're weird. Like, what, you know, I want a STEM career. Is that weird or something like that? No, it's not. And there's many other girls out there just like you that want to do that too. So that is really the program. It's very simple, but very effective. They're gaining worldwide notoriety. The National Science Foundation, the Nita Borg Social Impact Award, the Department of Education, go on and on. All the different places that are recognizing Ignite worldwide for who they are. So as I said, we're very excited to be partnering with them. This is the statistic that really caught our eye. Is in 2013, a study was done in the Seattle schools. Less than 5% of all STEM classes were female. Less than 5%. That number in 3 years has grown to over 50%. So at UTI, for instance, our female student population is about 4%. And we want to raise that. And so that's one of the reasons why we wanted to partner with Ignite, to help them to make girls aware that, hey, these programs are available for you too. You can do these things, and you know, just give them a chance to be successful in these fields. We try to offer resources to help students to make school more affordable. As we know, everything's expensive these days, and education is no different. So what we do is we offer all kinds of resource avenues for students to be able to make their schooling more affordable. We work with student organizations like FFA, Hot Rodders of Tomorrow, Skills USA, Top Tech Challenge, to give students the opportunity to earn scholarship dollars to be able to use towards their education. We also work with foundations like the Imagine America Foundation. We've been with Imagine America for over 21 years. Very proud of that partnership. And the scholarship redemption is phenomenal. But it also makes it possible for us to have webinars like this, so we can reach out to educators like yourself and to be able to spread the word about the need for technical education. And then we work with industry. Our newest alliance is AGCO Corporation, and we worked with them this last fall at the National FFA Convention. Had a very good showing at the convention at our booth. It was a way to show students how education and industry work closely together. But I want to challenge all of you on this webinar. If you're not using industry at your school, that's a big miss for you. You need to reach out to industry. They want to work with you. They want to help you. And if you're too shy to ask, reach out to me. I'll ask for you, because that's what we do. We do industry days at dealerships and things like that. We just try to find ways to get students and their parents and educators into these so they can see what it's really like. We all have these ideas in our mind of what we think it's like, and in reality, it's not the same way. So these are all important to help students to be successful in their educational career. Now, we offer over $15 million in scholarships, and we're very proud of that. We talk about that a lot with students. But if anybody on this webinar has any advice on how to get students to fill out scholarships, please reach out to me, because I would love to talk to you. We have the same struggles of trying to get students to fill out scholarships. They say they're going to do it, but then they just don't get around to ever doing it. So what we found that really works well is the tuition reimbursement incentive program, or TRIP. This program it's not new. The medical industry has been using it for a long time, but what we've done is that dealerships, and we have hundreds of them across the country, they actually help students to take care of their student loan debts. They to help them to get started. They're coming right out of school, getting started in their career, and they want to help them any way possible. So the TRIP program, it offers like student loan repayment assistance. It offers hiring incentive packages, tool purchase assistance, boot allowances, if you can believe that, sign-on bonuses, tenure bonuses, lots of opportunities for students to get their education paid for. There is a catch though. Students have to work hard while they're in school. You know, these companies, they're not going to hire just anybody and give them a package like that. They're going to offer to the best students they can get their hands on. They're looking for students that have a work ethic, that are professional, that go to class every day, because that attendance is huge, and that make good grades, work hard in class. That's who they're looking for, and then they're willing to invest in these students, to keep them as employees, because all the dealerships are strapped for technicians. It's just not one or two; all of them are, and so they're competing for the same people. That's why they have to make themselves stand out by offering these programs. These programs are anywhere from $10,000 up to $40,000. So very lucrative for students, but also to help them so that they start their career without a bunch of debt hanging over their head. 2 takeaways today. Takeaway number 1, high school counselors and educators can strengthen all post-secondary education pathways, including certificate programs. In other words, this is no longer plan B. This is no longer the backup plan. This is some of your students' plan A. This is some of your students, what they want to be, what they live for, their career pathway, what they want to do. And we need to start treating it that way, rather than saying, well, if it doesn't work out for you to become a vet or to become a doctor, well, you could always be a welder. Anybody can do that. Or you can always be an auto technician. Anybody can do that. That's not true. These are highly trained technicians, and we have to give them their just due. So that's why, as educators, we need to recognize all them. That helps with your parents too, because the parents know that their son or daughter is a hands-on project-based learner. And so this kind of program is going to fit them better than maybe going off to the college or university. But we have to make them feel good about their kids too, just like we do, like when we offer scholarships. Let's recognize them as well. If you're still calling your events college fairs, change that name. Call it a career fair. That takes in everybody. I'm not against colleges. They're important too, but so are technical schools, so are trade schools. When you say college, they're going to think of University of Texas. They're going to think of University of Houston, something like that. They're not going to think about a UTI. They're not going to think about a cosmetology school. So that's why that's important. And then the second takeaway, higher education leaders are instrumental in enabling students to acquire education beyond high school. In other words, you need skills. You need that training. Some students can go right from high school right into the workforce, and they're going to be fine. But the more training you have, the more skills you bring to the table, the more marketable those students are going to be, and the better chance they have of getting hired. Remember, that's what employers are looking for. And I've said it time and time again on this webinar. They're looking for skills. They're looking for what can you do to make them better. So keep that in mind, that some form of education, and it may not be a college or university, it may just be a certificate or a diploma, but it's still training and it's still important. So we want to make sure that that we're telling students that as we get them ready for their career pathways. I'm a retired educator. I know exactly what you guys do. I can honestly say I didn't have to experience what you've experienced the last year and a half with COVID ever in my teaching career, but I still know what you're trying to convey to your students, that you're trying to make them aware of scholarships and opportunities that are available to them. And, what we want to do is we want to partner with you. That's all we want to do. We want to back you up. We host students and their parents at our open houses. We'd love for you to come out as well. We'll also come to your school. We have a truck and trailer. We can bring out STEM demonstrations. We do presentations on career pathways, career readiness, STEM. We do all these things. We can still do them virtually too if you still need that. We'll talk about scholarships. We'll talk about our trip packages. We can even do professional development if you're needing that for your staff. I can do that for you. And everything I've just talked about is complimentary. There's no charge for any of these. We just want to partner with you any way we can. We know you have a tough job. We just want to be there to have your back any way we possibly can. And then finally, this is my contact information. Please feel free to reach out to me. You saw my phone number earlier. You've got my email address now too. So please feel free, call, text, write, carrier pigeon, whatever you use. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to know what you thought of the webinar. I'd love to know if there's anything I can do to help you. I want to thank you again for spending part of your afternoon with me, and good luck with the rest of your school year. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Dr. Coyle. We are now going to open this up for the Q&A portion of our presentation. I've also launched a poll question. If you would like somebody to contact you about presenting similar information to your students, please indicate so on the poll so that we know who to reach out to. Dr. Coyle, this person wants to know about federal financial aid, or the FAFSA. Can students apply for the FAFSA in order to come to this school?
Yes, we are Title IV funded. So therefore, a student will fill out the FAFSA to see if they qualify for financial aid. Then all that information is given to a financial aid advisor that will work closely with the student and their family to come up with a package that will be affordable for that student and their families as well. That's quite an undertaking. And so we want to make sure we cover every grant, loan, scholarship, anything we can to help students to make school more affordable for them.
Right. Okay, great. Now, let's say that I am a student and I'm interested in these programs, or I'm a counselor and I would like more information on Universal Technical Institute and MIAT. Should I go to the website, or should I just contact you directly? How should I go about that?
Well, you could do it either way. You can go to the website, uti.edu, very simple, and just get on there, make an inquiry, tell them what you're looking for, and we can route that to the rep that will contact you. But if you're uneasy doing that, just reach out to me. You've got my contact information, and I'll be glad to set that up for you.
Hey, Dr. Coyle, looks like our last question here has to do with programmatic and cost comparisons with community colleges and local technical colleges. Could you talk about that just a little bit, please?
Sure. We get this all the time, Bob, and it's a great question. First of all, we are not a community college. There's a difference in the type of students that we're looking for. And so that's the first and foremost thing. But there's really three distinct differences between us and the community college. Number one is with the length of time you're going to be in school. At community college, you're going to be there 2 to 3 years. That's just a fact. You're going to be there that long. At UTI, MIAT, you're going to be there 9 to 17 months, depending upon the program that you choose to do. We don't take summers off. We don't do spring breaks because the industry doesn't. So we try to emulate where they're going. The second part is the alliances with the manufacturers. Yes, there are schools out there, there are community colleges that will have 1, maybe 2 alliances. We have over 35, and we have hundreds of partnerships as well on top of that. So the prospects are very good for one of our students to land into a manufacturer specific training program. And some of those are actually paid for by the manufacturer too. And then the third part is the trip package that I just talked about just a few minutes ago. That's huge for our graduates because potentially they could go to school free. But as I emphasized, I want to emphasize again, it's not just anybody's going to get these. You have to stand out. You have to be willing to work hard, to go to class every day. You want these dealerships to want you, and then you can get these kind of opportunities available to you.
That's a great point. And before we close, I think I would be remiss if I didn't mention that the fact that a UTI graduate will get through the program in a nationally accredited program, and they'll get through faster, and they'll be out there in the market making money quicker. I think that's the critical thing when parents and others are looking at it, and that, the economic benefit of going to school like this. Would you agree, Stephen?
Yes, I would. That's a very good way to put it too. Is we're looking for students that they're looking for manufacturer specific training. You're right. They want to get out of the field. They want to get out. As I said earlier, these kids, that's how they're built. They want to get into that field. They want to start making money.
Yeah. Well, I think that this is a great opportunity for them. Dr. Coyle, let me go through a couple of housekeeping items for our participants. The foundation has recorded this session and will be forwarding that recording to all the registrants. In addition, the Imagine America Foundation has placed this session on our website, which is www.imagine-america.org, with very specific downloaded instructions. Really encourage you to go back and go to that website and listen to this session one more time. I always find that when I do that, I miss something the first time through. It's a valuable resource. Finally, my colleague Lee Doubleday is going to be doing a survey after this meeting. Really encourage all the participants to respond to that survey. Give us feedback on the content, give us feedback on the direction this is going, and possibly some other things that you'd like to have us talk about. Before closing, we want to thank the participants, in particular, the educators that took the time out of their very busy schedules to join us today. We know you've got a number of competing interests, and we just appreciate you carving out just a little bit of time to listen to today's presentation and consider what we put out in the way of information here. I'd also like to thank Dr. Coyle for sharing with us today's presentation and encourage any and all of you to contact him directly on anything that you heard today, any questions you may have, whether it's Universal Technical Institute, MIAT, whether it's just career education in general. He's a great resource. On behalf of the Imagine America Foundation, Lee Doubleday and myself, we'd like to thank you and hope you have a great day. Goodbye.